All right, Rhett, today we are looking at commonly held guitar myths. We are going to discuss them, possibly debunk them, possibly confirm them.
Let's do it.
Let's get at her. Okay, so myth number one is that some people believe that if you boil your strings, you can prolong the life of them. So here's the experiment. With this guitar, I have put on 2 brand new strings. I've cleaned the heck out of 2 of the strings and I've boiled 2 of the strings. We're gonna see if we can figure out which is which.
The last time it was restrung was a year ago, so the old strings that you boiled
They were
and cleaned
disgusting.
were disgusting,
Yeah.
and they were a year or more older.
They're horrifically gross. So here we go.
Can I guess?
guesses?
I
Yeah.
think I know. I think E is brand new. I think G is brand new. I think A is boiled. I think D is cleaned. I think B is boiled. And I think E is cleaned.
You're close. I will say there actually does to me feel like there's a notable difference between the cleaned and the boiled. Like that's boiled.
Yeah, it's the high end. There's more high end. I actually kind of like the boiled sound because on acoustic guitars, I never like the sound of brand new guitar strings. I don't like really bright acoustic sounds. It's really apparent on the wound strings, which makes sense because if you think about the winds, you've got these, thousands of tiny little pockets where gunk and dirt and rust and corrosion builds up. And if you're boiling it, that's a much better way of clearing that out than just cleaning it with something.
Okay, so there's a common held belief that if you spend more on something, it is automatically better.
Just right off the bat, in my experience, there is no clear correlation to cost and quality of sound, playability, and feel.
Wait, you're telling me that like a Squier Strat from a Strat Pack is equally, if not better than like a Mexi Strat?
Yes. The Squier plays just as good, if not better, than the Pro Series. It feels just as good, if not better, and it's oftentimes less than half the price.
This is a hot take, my friend. Not one that I have not necessarily seen the same results.
It's not every Squier is going to beat every, American-made Fender. It's just on the whole, in my experience, the base model Fenders or the high-end Mexican-made guitars are not always better than the cheapest option out there.
I would say that I find that there's a diminishing returns that happen very quickly. And I think a lot of the time you end up paying for like features, which doesn't necessarily mean it's better sounding, better playing.
The idea that you're going to spend $6,000 on a custom shop whatever, and it's going to be 10 times better than a $600 guitar isn't always the case. Sometimes it is, but not always.
Yeah, and I think that applies to like things like beyond just like guitars, like pedals too. Mm-hmm. Like there's some $50 pedals that sound to my ear just as good as the ones that were made by hand and are boutique pedals, and just because it was made by a machine versus somebody hand wound it doesn't mean it's just like intrinsically better. In your opinion, there are specific things that do matter a lot for crafting a tone that you enjoy and that is unique to you, and I think that's something that you cover a lot in one of your courses.
Yeah, I'm in a course called the Tone Course. It's basically taking you through everything that matters and understanding sort of the entire signal flow with electric guitars. Understanding what your guitar is doing, what your pickups are doing, how to use them. We spend a lot of time talking about amplifiers, different types of amplifiers, gain staging, understanding EQ, and not just showing the differences, but how to use these to get the sound that you want to get.
Yeah, we got a link to that in the description with we got a discount.
Yeah, 70%?
70%. So that's like what, $20?
Think so.
Nice. Well, use that link in the description. Check out Rhett's Tone Course. It fills in a lot of gaps that a lot of us might not even know that we have with the information about like crafting your tone.
Yeah, and this could tie into maybe another myth, which is vintage is always better. Just because it's old, it's good, and that is certainly not the case. In fact, I would say more often than not, in my experience, old guitars are a lot of times worse than their modern equivalents. The difference is when they're good, they are so good. That extra 5 or 10% difference is sort of the thing that sets it apart. The mojo, if you will.
One of the things I think you're paying for is the fact that they can never make another 1961 guitar. That year has long since passed. You can never have another. There's a limited quantity. The limit drives up the price, and it's not always quality driving up the price. Tonewood, myth or fact?
I can feel the comments coming already. I will die on this hill. I think it matters, with the caveat being On the list of things that matter in an electric guitar's sound, I think the wood that it's made of is towards the bottom of the list. The placebo effect is a huge part of that. I know if I pick a guitar up and I strum it and I can feel the whole guitar resonating and vibrating, it makes me feel better. I feel more connected with the guitar and I play better. With that said too, I have heard differences in guitars based off of the wood. I just did a video where we took a Strat and we swapped the necks out. Everything on the guitar, including the strings, stayed exactly the same. The amp stayed the same. The only variable that changed was the neck, and you could hear the difference. So if that's true for a neck and a fretboard, why is it not true for the rest of the guitar? All I'm saying is that yes, it matters. A guitar, whether it's an acoustic or an electric, is the sum of its parts. All of these things are working together to create the sound and the color and the fingerprint of this instrument, including the material that it's made of. A lot of pickups are microphonic, meaning like you can tap on the guitar and the pickup is resonating and sending that through into your amplifier. So if the pickup is picking up the vibrations of the guitar, which it is, it's not just the strings moving over the electrical field, the material that the guitar is made of affects the sound.
Yeah.
It just does.
True bypass. Myth?
It's not a myth that it does something, right? The idea of true bypass versus a buffered pedal is that when you disengage the pedal, you're literally just sending your signal around the circuit with nothing else.
You're truly bypassing the pedal.
Right. The myth for a long time was that true bypass sounds better because you're not getting anything in the way of your sound, right? You're not altering it in any way with buffers. I don't think that's necessarily true because depending on the size of your board, how many pedals you have in the signal path, that's going to determine whether or not you should or shouldn't run something like a buffer. Buffer is something that basically drives your guitar signal along a long cable run to keep your sound intact. So the more cable you have in your signal path, the more high-end information you're going to lose due to resistance in the cable. I think for a long time, the idea of a buffer was a bad thing, but it's actually not. Using a buffer in most cases, or sometimes two buffers, is good.
Analog is always better than digital.
Let's start with pedals, like overdrive or fuzz pedals. I think the core to a good fuzz circuit is the transistor that it has, whether it's germanium or silicon. And there are some good digital sort of emulations of that, but for me, overdrive and fuzz is going to be analog. Delays, reverbs, modulations, no.
What do you think about modeling?
I think modelers make a lot of sense for a lot of players. You know, you can play silently with headphones on. You get access to a lot of different sounds for a lot less money. But the thing is, they will always be measured against the benchmark. Modelers will never surpass the sound quality of a tube amp because they're trying to emulate the tube amp.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Those are a bunch of commonly held guitar myths. Those are our opinions on them. If you want to check out Rhett's Tone Course, it's a great resource. There's a lot of very insightful things that fill in a lot of the gaps that a lot of us have. Check that out. There's a link in the description. And remember, if you use my specific link, you're going to get that course for like 20 bucks. Thanks for doing this, Rhett. Thank you guys all for watching. Look after yourselves, look after each other, look after the planet. I'm Samurai Guitarist.
I'm Rhett Shull.
See you again soon.